Hello and welcome to ChinnyVision. This time we're delving into the Amsoft archives. I guess many of you will have seen the article on the Den of Geek website a couple of weeks back listing what they claim are the top 11 Amsoft games you completely forgot existed. Now, my criteria for that kind of list is something perhaps a little bit obscure, and not merely listing these games that were bundled in free with the Amstrad CPC 464 over a period of about 2 years, that £100 free software pack, because Amstrad only sold, about 500,000 of those. So, all those titles are obviously really obscure and everyone's forgotten about them. That's not how we roll here on ChinnyVision. Amsoft is a software house that is often derided because you can get many cheap laughs out of games such as Bridget and Galactic Plague. But the truth is, a lot of those early games were literally shoveled onto the Amstrad CPC because Alan Sugar wanted as many games as possible onto his new platform as quickly as possible. And developers only got, before the CPC was launched, 2 weeks with the machine to write their games. Literally, someone would turn up on your doorstep and take the machine back again. And if we have a quick look at the Winter 1985 Amsoft catalogue with this beautiful painting on the front of the spacecraft, you can see the sheer variety of games put out by Amsoft. Titles you will have heard of, titles you won't have heard of, some of them good, some of them bad, but just the sheer amount of software they were putting out. So once Amsoft got going, they actually did some quite interesting titles, and we're going to look at 10 of them. So the first game we're looking at is Doors of Doom by Gem Software for Amsoft. The Amsoft gold logo on there to show extra quality. It was an initiative by Amsoft to get away from their cheap and cheerful image. So you start off and you've got level 1, 2 or 3. So there's a different difficulty level. What you have to do is walk around this map, which eventually wraps around collecting the pieces of the Doors of Doom. And you'll notice that main character does look a bit like Roland in Space and Roland in Time. And I've always wondered, because Gem Software also wrote that game, whether this was perhaps intended as a rolling game. So basically what you do is you walk along this massive scrolling landscape. You can climb up objects. The baddies come and zap you. Cups of tea give you energy, and you can pick up various power-ups. And you have to pick up various parts of this object that you need to find. And you can see one of them there. So we're going to go and pick that up. It looks like a door panel. Perhaps that's what the Doors of Doom actually means. And we can now levitate because I've just got that other power up. But there you go. We've collected that. So we've got 3 pieces now of the thing, and just forwarded it on. And you can walk either way on the landscape as well. So it's kind of free roaming. The game doesn't mind where you go. The map does wrap round eventually. And cups of tea give you energy. Perhaps was originally intended as a rolling game, given the similarity of the character, but it's an interesting Amstrad CPC exclusive title that is actually quite fun and innovative. Amsoft didn't just publish unique and exclusive Amstrad CPC titles, they also arranged for games to be ported by the original software houses to the Amstrad CPC. Lords of Midnight, Beachhead, Raid were all titles that were ported to the CPC, but also we've got Manic Miner here on the Amsoft label, and it's a very competent port of the Specky game. It's all here. Yes, there's nothing particularly fancy or flash about it, but you've got an Amstrad CPC version of Manic Miner, and I'm just using this game as an example of one of these games, as I say, like Beachhead, like Raid, and like Spy Hunter as well, games that were ported to the Amstrad CPC for Amsoft. The Scout Steps Out is another Amstrad CPC exclusive title by Amsoft. You are a Boy Scout and you've got to carry out various tasks around several screens. It's a bit like Jet Set Willy, although there's a bit of variation between the screens, and you have to eat cornflakes from that giant bowl to gain more lives. The tune does loop around, a little bit annoying, but there's a whole load of fun to be had. The game's a little bit difficult, probably best played with a cheat these days, to be fair, but it's an interesting platformer because it has lots of different... We're looking at this screen here, which is almost like Bounty Bob Strikes Back, But then we go on to more Manic Miner style screens and even Roland game type screens. It is not the best platformer game in the world, but it's one of those little unique and really quirky titles that is really worth checking out. Chess, a game we don't often feature on ChinnyVision, but I had this on my CPC and I really, really enjoyed it. There was originally a game called Master Chess that came out with Amsoft. It wasn't terribly good, but this game really is a good piece of chess software. Lots of options. You can save the game, you can analyse your game, you can print the board out. You can even swap the way the board is round so you can get a view from the other angle. And it's really good and well presented. And you get this beautiful graphics here in the Amstrad CPC's 4-colour mode. And you play chess basically. And you move your pieces around. They move a little bit slowly when they're in this pseudo 3D mode. But not too bad. On a CRT monitor, this looks so impressive as well. I mean, you're only looking at 4 colours. You've got those size pieces are really nicely drawn. And if you get bored with the speed it's going at, you can go to 2D mode, which looks ugly, but it's much, much faster, as you can see. I really like Cyrus Chess 2. I hadn't played it for years before this review, and I remembered how much I used to play this game because it's a really good chess game, certainly one of the best ones on the 8-bits. Another Amsoft Gold title, Amsoft presents 3D Grand Prix. It's Grand Prix, it's in 3D, and I bought my copy of this game on South Sea Pier in the guy used to sell second-hand software on there on a Sunday in the little market. And yes, it looks like many other games in this area. Formula 1 Simulator by Mastertronic. But look how big the cars are and how smoothly it moves around. Yes, the steering is a little bit pernickety. And you've only got 4 gears and you've got to get it right. But it's very, very playable for the era. I don't suggest for 1 minute there's lots of long-term gameplay here. But it is interesting for a quick blast. And just to see, hey, you can have large sprites here on the CPC playing a Grand Prix game in 16 colours. The Game of Dragons, another game covered very early on in ChinnyVision. Very, very simple. A dragon flies across the top of the screen, lays eggs. The other dragons come for you. You have to push the eggs onto the other dragons to kill them. It's almost like a kind of Chucky Egg game with a twist. As I said 3 years ago when I reviewed this, it's a very playable game, slightly flawed, but again, one of those little unique titles. It takes a spin on an existing game, i.e. Chucky Egg, and does a good job on it. Crackerjack by Paul Shirley. Paul Shirley, a name you will remember from Spin Dizzy, the coder of Spin Dizzy. And you have to collect all the eggs, but you can't walk in the areas where you've almost, I suppose, eaten, the areas that become black after you walk past them. But you can push the scenery around if it does go black. So as you can see there, I'm just pushing the scenery around to make a route to get up to that egg there. It's a very simple puzzler, but fairly addictive and a really nice early example of this kind of game that is oh so popular today. Another gem title, one of the last ones by Amsoft, 1986, Quabbler. And again, like that earlier gem software game, we saw Doors of Doom, 3 difficulty levels, medium, difficult, impossible. And this game is known for being impossible. And the reason I'm showing you this game is because the graphical impressiveness of it. It's very similar to Doors of Doom, really. You have to wander around the landscape and find all the objects, although this time you've got this pseudo 3D view and where you can wander in and out of the houses, in and out of trees. The baddies follow you around, so here I am. You can't see me at the moment because I'm hidden behind some objects, but I'm just trying to find my way round. And it wouldn't surprise me if this engine is very similar to Doors of Doom. If you look at the energy level at the top, that kind of status bar, very similar to Doors of Doom. But currently I'm stuck behind objects here, And the manual does say that all the objects you've got to find are hidden behind things. So yeah, the game is incredibly frustrating and you're probably not going to complete it, but it is graphically impressive. It's an interesting concept. It's still that era of 8-bit gaming where people are trying out new ideas to come up with new types of games. Some of them work, some of them don't. People remember things like Alien 8 and Night Law as being a 3D game that works. This game, people don't remember because it was hard and it doesn't quite work and it's CPC only, but it's still worth loading up to have a look at it because it's really impressive how they've done this 3D thing. And if you see I'm walking inside that building there now, you can't see inside, so you've got to find your way out randomly, which is a little bit frustrating. So I'm emerging the other side now. But I just find this quite interesting, the way they're just trying to experiment with things and try something new. Subterranean Striker is a shoot-'em-up, come rescue game by Amsoft. Looks very much like a BBC Micro game. I know the scrolling isn't the best and the sprites flicker. It has that little kind of Defender vibe about it. And you can move around this map and you have to go and rescue the little men. And it's good fun. I say the scrolling's a little bit dodgy. But again, it's an early game. And you would have been well pleased with this if you had this back in the day compared to games like Galactic Plague and Bridget. At least it gets the hover thing right. There's no inertia or anything like that as you sink down, which is always annoying, like thrust. I'm going to get this wrong, aren't I, with the capture delay. Crashing into that. The second I do that... Oh, no, I'm through. Oh, no, I hit the scenery. Right. Finally, of our 10 games, of course I was going to mention Sorcerer Plus, the Amstrad CPC exclusive port of the game that originally came out on the Spectrum and MSX and I think C64, later the ST and the Amiga as well. But Sorcerer Plus is the enhanced version. They've spruced up the graphics, they've done things with the sound, it's disc only. It's really, really nice. Very tough. You get energy, but water kills you, and you can get trapped in the game if you don't work out some of the puzzles correctly. But this game kept me amused for so long when I first got it back in 1986. This isn't my original copy, but I do have my original disc. We will review this properly one of these days. But it's a good example of, again, another Amsoft title that is really, really polished. So let's look at just 10 games from the Amsoft library, the majority of which I hope, unless you're an avid Amstrad CPC user, you won't have heard of before. And they all need to be tried out for different reasons. Even if, like Crobble Art, they are ultimately flawed and probably unplayable, it's still really interesting to see that kind of game being attempted and wandering around that landscape and just trying to play it and make it work, even if you're not going to get very far. There is far more to Amsoft than just that software pack that came with the 464. Over 160 titles, which puts Amsoft up there among the likes of Ocean in terms of the sheer number of bits of software put out there by them. Yes, not all of that was games, but even if you take all the productivity software out of the equation, Amsoft was still one of the most prolific software houses of the 1980s for the 8-bits. Don't be put off by Amsoft's dodgy reputation as having really bad games, because you start digging around, there's some really good stuff in there.